All right, Josh, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, talk to us about your trading. Talk to us about how the last 6 months have been and kind of, well, actually, walk us through a quick backstory, how you got into trading and then how your journey was.
Gotcha. So we talked about it before, but I used to race professional motocross, and with injuries and stuff like that, I had to take a step back. And right when I stopped racing was basically I think it was 2020 to 2021, that bull run of crypto. Saw everybody making the huge gains, and that's when I first found out about forex. Started watching some videos, dabbling in that. That's when I saw the prop firms too. And I was like, wow, it looks like people are making some serious money from this, and I'm gonna see if I can make it work.
There you go. So, before prop firms, were you trading any live capital? Did you try that out or no?
Yeah, so before I did prop firms, the first thing I did, I put like $2,000 in an account. And this is, maybe watch everyone I think does this. You watch your first YouTube course, you're like, oh, I got this. No risk management, $2,000 in a live, risked like $1,000 on the trade, and I blew all that money in like a week.
Like, what was your take on, what was your outlook on trading from the outside? What was your perspective on it?
So I knew my dad used to day trade a little bit, and he had some experience with that. I didn't know too much about it. From the outside, it's hard because you see all the people on Instagram and stuff just flexing their money. So I'm like torn. I'm like, is this a scam or is this like a serious thing where people are actually making money? It's hard to differentiate sometimes from what you see online. But I have one friend, his name's Corey, shout out to him, who's basically the guy that got me involved in this. And I could saw he was doing it for real. Like I knew he was doing it and had the receipts. So I was like, all right.
All right, there you go. So then what was your first experience with trading? Was it one of those like where you got in, started having some early success, or how'd it go?
I would say so after I lost my first 2 grand on the live account, I then learned about the prop firms, and I kind of would classify myself as like boom and bust trader. I really didn't have a plan. Like we talk about, no risk management, more just fly by night, luck of the draw. And it's pretty, what's the word I'm looking for here? You can get very lucky when you're starting on prop firms sometimes, and you have no reason to get it. That was what I mean. You really have no idea why you're winning, but you'll win and you think you're on top of the world. And right when you think you're doing well, it just throws you right back to the curb. And you realize, wow, okay, there's more to this than I thought.
For sure. Do you feel like you had that? And we're gonna get to so many different. First off, how long have you been trading? Just for
I've
context,
been doing it about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So is where about most folks who are listening to this are going to be, some over, some under, obviously. But did you have this feeling of when you finally were successful with the prop firms, you kind of felt like you made it, you started to relax and maybe stop doing some of the stuff that got you there?
Well, I think the full transparency is like, how do you know when you make it? Because, you can pass your phases, get through. But in our class, we talked about you always have your demon and angel sitting on your shoulders, right? Something we used to say in motocross racing is you're only as good as your last race. And I think with trading, you're only as good as your last trade because all it takes is one day and you can wreck years of progress. So, the prop firms, I really think the prop firms do a number on your psychology because you always have the demon in the back of your head saying, this isn't real money, do something you shouldn't do. If you blow it, you can just buy another challenge. So I actually think trading prop firms is harder than trading live funds.
It depends. It's all perspective, right? If you tell yourself that, then it's true, but it's all about accountability. So the accountability to say, what do I need to fix about myself or my system? So regardless of what the prop firm setup is, I can make it work for me. And a lot of the time, it's you're not going to change your personality, so you can tailor your system in the like right in between your personality and then whatever the prop firm requires. And a lot of the time, it's just risk management. But I also feel like it's a double-edged sword, and I understand why some people would rather just have the freedom of trading their own. So walk me through where was the shift for you? Like, where did you go from sort of not really knowing the reason for the success and failures to what I would call competence? Kind of getting to be like, okay,
Of
here's the
course.
exact reason for why the success
Yeah.
is.
So I'm gonna give you some flowers here, Roy. Following everybody on Instagram. One day you posted on your story, and this quote has stuck with me, burned it into my brain, have it on my journals. You can't improve what you can't measure. I'm sure you know that one. And that was probably last year, in the beginning of the year, around that time. And I really sat back and thought about that. And I'm like, if I wanted to look at my like the previous year, can I really even see measurably, numerically, any way of like my growth here. And I'm like, we need to change something.
For sure. No, that's awesome. It's what I've noticed is the successful traders that have been around us took certain pieces and it highlighted with them. Like if you're just not ready for it, if you're not really receptive to outside guidance, a lot of people saw that post. Probably thousands of people saw that same exact post, and I've said it multiple times. Nobody, when I would say nobody, but the majority of people, it didn't click for them. So why do you feel like it clicked for you?
It's a good question. I think maybe, I mean, a lot of people with trading, it's really a struggle mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're just looking for something. You're looking for anything. You're looking for the cure, like when you're in that point, you know what I mean, to get where you want to go. I actually don't know if I have an answer for that because everybody just scrolls through Instagram Reels, sees all the stuff, but the one day I just swiping through, I swipe back, watched it again. So I don't know why actually. It's a good
I
question.
think you answered that question. I think you said that you were in a place in your life where you needed it. Like you were kind of out of options. Is that fair to say? Like you were just at a point where I'll make anything work as long as I know that it works. And then when you're in that receptive state, you'll start to notice certain things that will obviously, there are going to be opportunities. So that's really good. So what really was it about measurement that started to change your game? Is there anything specifically that you were looking at? Was it the time you were spending on the charts, just your overall trading strategy? What was it?
So I think everyone talks how important journaling is, but I feel like if you're journaling the wrong stuff, it doesn't do anything for you. So I journaled the past year and I went in and looked at it and I would just read these like random thoughts that I was writing at the end. And I'm like, how does this help me? Like I would say like, you're an idiot. You came back on the chart after you said you were done trading, or you missed this setup because you slept in, you're stupid. It's like, all right, that stuff kind of helps because you don't want to make those same mistakes again. But I was like, what I actually need to see numerically, something I can measure here. Like what rules do I have, like personal rules I'm breaking? And then it gets to a point I actually used to keep track every week in my journal. I would write how many rule breaks I had. And the one day I sat down, this is right about when Andrew Tate was starting to get big and he was preaching his discipline, 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 discipline. And I'm like, there should be no rule breaks on your journal. If you look at your journal at the end of the week and you have a rule break, what are you doing? Are you serious? Are you not? Like, do you want to make it, or is this just some joke? And really, credit to him. It has nothing to do with trading, but just life in general, getting discipline back. I was like, wow, I'm not going to break the rules anymore. So that's, you shouldn't have that. And I know that's hard to say because you'll always break your rules. No matter how many times you say, I've gotten past that point, you always have the devil on your shoulder coming back for you. And you need to know when that is.
Dude, that's incredible. First off, I think it's really well said. You're mentioning having a higher standard. Like you were setting the bar somewhere where you felt like that was the bar for you, and then somebody just completely took the top off, and you were like, there should be zero rule breaks. Not like, oh, sometimes I'll let it slide. So I think having that, I don't want to say like high self-esteem, but high standard for your life and high standard for your actions and your behaviors on the charts and everything around it, I think that's crucial. So I'm really glad you touched on that. So
For
what really
sure.
was it about? I mean, you said that we're always going to break rules. What I would say is you're going to break it's okay to make a mistake a few times, but you really shouldn't be making the same mistakes more than three or
Exactly.
four times. You're going to make new mistakes though. As you scale capital or as you're trying to, let's say, push, maybe trade larger position sizes, new demons come up. So you're going to have to kind of test a different part of your skill. What different problems did you have to deal with to finally get to the point where you are?
Well, part of my morning routine that I have is I actually have a document on my computer and I call it the running, it's what you have at work at a job, SOP, standard operating procedure. I have my SOP and a list of mistakes I've made. And I have on that, you read all the mistakes you've made every morning before you trade. And it's like you said, holding yourself to a higher standard. There is no exception. If you have made that mistake before, there is no way you can make that again and say that it wasn't 100% your fault. And even taking accountability is not enough because, like I said, you're going to make new mistakes every day. The market's not this thing that's binary, but you need to know your tendencies. And I loved your course. You talked a lot about not even the trading plan most of the days. I mean, you did, but you talked a lot about what we're talking about right now, which I really think you could have the shittiest system, but if your like emotions and psychology is keyed in, you could probably still make money.
right? And vice versa. You could have the best system in the world. And if you show up that week and you're hungover, you're distracted, you're too cocky, it's going
Yep.
to be the same. It's going to be the same play. So walk me through the master class. What were some key takeaways for you from the class itself?
Well, the first would be how cheap it was. You know, I was very, for anyone watching, very, and I'm not even doing this for, I'm not getting anything from saying this. I was listening to one podcast at my work and it said, if you want to be around people who you want to be like, there's a paywall. So a $500 paywall is nothing. You know, you see people charging thousands and thousands of dollars. And I was just scrolling again, scrolling through Instagram, saw it's like, this is the last NASDAQ masterclass we're going to have. I'm like, well, shit, how much is it? 500 bucks? I'm like, dude, is that a joke? Bang, signed up because you're always a student no matter how much you know. And I don't know what it is. I said this to you before we started, but for the listeners, I just get such a good read on you as a person. You just feel very genuine. So I'm like $500 and I'm gonna get to ask Roy questions. I'm like, yeah, no brainer.
There you go. Had you
Sign me
been on
up.
the live streams before or no?
Never, never.
Wow, that's incredible. Most of the people that find the masterclass typically get on the live stream. They see the strategy over and over, and they're like, "This is the same system every day." And then you kind of want to find out more. But it's cool that you just were able to take that leap. So, what did you think about the class itself?
I thought it was great. Biggest thing I think is awesome is you buy some other classes, you're just getting recorded lessons from 2018. You know what I mean? The fact that you can sit with someone and ask your questions, as you know, I ask 100 million in the thing. Well, if I'm paying $500, I'm gonna ask every single question I want to ask as long as he'll answer them. So being able to sit there with someone live, have them explain to you, be able to get that feedback in real time, as well as you did a great job articulating everything and really going through every step of the way. So I'm very excited to see where the future goes after taking it.
Dude, you just reminded me, vice versa, because I loved how in depth you were getting on the questions. Because number one, it pushed me to really get specific. And then also, when I'm teaching, I try to simplify things. So you made me think about these questions that you were asking, and then I had to basically sum it up into like a one or two statement kind of rule or a rule of thumb. And that was incredible. So, dude, grits, and you were asking questions that the whole class was thinking, but just maybe didn't even know how to articulate. So props to you. Dude, good learners are earners, man. That's one of those like cliche things from the MLMs that they say is like earners but it's true. You were asking all the right questions, engaging, and obviously it paid off. Good stuff. So, where do you see your trading going this year? Now that you have a clear system, do you feel confident about being able to keep this momentum going throughout the whole year?
Well, part of I mean, full transparency. I've been on a little bit of a losing streak here, which happens. I think you go through those emotional stages too, where you go through like the losing streaks and you're like, man, I just need to get out of this. And you do bad things, amplifies what your bad mistakes are. The reason I really was interested in your class was you said there's three things to trade. Well, this is what you said, but and this is the way I understand it. There's three things to trading that make you successful. You have your edge that you know works, right? You have your risk management, and you have your discipline to follow the things you need to do. I thought, and you still have, you're always working, you're always growing, you still make mistakes. My discipline was what held me back the most year one. I would just literally randomly click buttons when I get angry and just gamble my money away. So after doing that, I'm like, all right, we need the key in my discipline. Worked on that last year. That was like you can't improve what you can't measure, you're saying. That really was the change. Then what happened was I wasn't so sure my edge was good. I was more or less trading breakouts of trends. And we know how that goes when you're trading breakouts. I really don't like I'm still torn to this day. I still am like because I had success doing that and I'm like it's kind of this tortured duality where you're like, I want to go back because I had so much success. And then you have those so much long streaks of like where it just wasn't working at all. And I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I'm paying Roy $500 that like I said, I don't know you personally. Only over the past couple of weeks we've been getting to know each other, but I trust Roy for some reason because he's a genuine guy. That's the vibe I get. And I'm like, he's saying this edge works. I'm paying $500 for an edge. We got the edge now. We got the discipline. And then I also learned about risk management last year. I'm like, these are the three keys you need. So, barring some minor mistakes, you're going to make learning a completely new system and applying it. I'm really excited to just try and dial in how I execute the system. Because as you know, you could give someone a system we talked about that's a winning system, it might not win for them. So I'm hoping I can make this system work and iron out some of the mistakes I've been making.
No, you definitely will. I mean, I encourage everyone to hop on the live streams because there's two pieces to this. Number one is there's the education, and then there's the simulation where you guys are sort of simulating the strategy, either back testing it or just practicing with it. But then there's also demonstration. What I'm doing on the live streams is I'm trying to show the strategy working in real time because the decision making of once price gets to an entry, everybody knows the strategy. But every time it gets to the entry, the doubt starts to come in. And so watching me work through my rationale for why I'm executing now or choosing not to execute, it adds an extra level of that discretion because a lot of our trading strategy now is mechanical. We have a system, but the discretion of when to stay out versus when to kind of double down or enter another entry and the mindset of holding this trade for 2 hours, seeing someone demonstrate it live is going to be a lot easier than trying to do some guesswork. But dude, I have no doubt you're going to figure this out, right? I see you. I've seen the progress that you've made. And do you want to touch on how your trading has changed since the class?
Yeah, I'm sure. First, the thing that struck me, I'm taking the class and you're sitting there, got the coffee, got your notes, and you're explaining how we're buying the retracements, basically, not to give away any free game. And you're like, the idiots are buying where we're exiting. I'm like, damn, that's where I'm buying. I'm like, all right, maybe I need to relook what's going on here. So going with the trend, stuff like that, I was basically everything you were saying was wrong. I'm like, it's really weird that I'm doing a lot of these things. So it was nice to see the new strategy and everything you said just made so much sense.
Yep. You can blame your friend that got you in baby pips. That's probably why you were buying those breakouts. All right, but this was honestly a great convo, Josh. I appreciate you sharing with us, and I think that 2024 is going to be a great year for you. I'm excited to see your progress and wishing you the best of luck. In case you guys didn't catch it, go back and watch this interview. It's a very, very insightful talk about the importance of discipline and then really having that high standard for yourself because we can set rules, but if you're kind of lenient with yourself about breaking rules and you don't set a high standard, you're always going to go back to the default. And so I really appreciate you sharing that, Josh. Anything you'd like to share with folks before we hop off? Like if someone's listening and they're just at their wits' end, what would you say?
At your wit's end, I think everyone who ever has tried the trade has been there. I mean, the past 2 months, I've felt like that. And I think what you have to tell yourself is no matter how far and how bad it gets, you are only a loser if you quit. So that's with anything in life. You have to have the discipline to persevere through the hard times. And you see the life you want to live, it takes a lot of work. You see, I really, really think if you want to be successful, like we talked about racing motocross, I did that from 4 till I got my, pro license. I was like 19 or 20. Like you have to give like 20 years, 15 years of your time to get to the top of something. And if you're trying to get to the top of trading, I'm 2.5 years in. Where would I be in 10 years from now? In 10 years, I'll be early 30s. That's pretty young. So I'm going to stick with it no matter what.
I'd love to see it. All right, guys, hit like and subscribe for more. Catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks so much, Roy.